Good evening to all. It's indeed a very august gathering here, and I'm deeply honored with the privilege to introduce our chief guest and awardee, Professor Dr. T. Jacob John. He definitely does not need an introduction, and I've just put together a collage of photographs and of memorable events that have happened probably in his life. It's very difficult to put everything together. And like he just said, he hasn't kept memories in terms of photographs, I understand, with him. So whatever I'm doing is something that we've picked together from Professor Dr. Sridharan and from what we have. The first word that comes to our mind is about polio eradication. And I think Dr. John has stood out in that area, and the achievements are extremely laudable at a national, global level. This is evident in all the awards he has won, and of course with the sort of luminaries he's been associated with. Dr. John also is well known not just as an eminent virologist, but the fact that he's a pediatrician who walked into the lab and worked tremendously in the area of public health to make virology, microbiology relevant to the nation and to make a difference in actually controlling diseases that are of public health importance. Dr. John exemplifies the effort taken by an individual in this area over several decades. He translated into action what we are probably just talking about. The moment I met him, you see this, this is a drawing one of my students happened to capture. I wanted her to picture my first encounter with Dr. John. When I walked into the room, he was sitting there and he had these tons of books around him. And then he had some gap there and he was busy writing. And that was in 1994. This was before the internet had exploded and computer technology had taken over, and he knew exactly what to find where. I have one individual who exemplifies all these characteristics, then it's Dr. John, and that's how I think Naruvi's dream too of being a corporate hospital with public health seems to be in the right direction with this award to Dr. John. There are many thoughts on all this, but here was someone who could identify the need way back many decades earlier. So he's certainly way ahead of his times when it comes to policies of national importance. If anything has kept me going, it is Dr. John and Professor Dr. Sridharan, and of course all the stalwarts from CMC who make you passionate about your work even when not much infrastructure is available, and you just keep going knowing that someday things will work well. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, sir, for this opportunity.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. John, Mr. Sampath, Dr. Paul, and all of you assembled here. So my family will be very, very happy when I go back and tell them that I had the opportunity to meet you today. I'll do that first thing tomorrow morning. Indeed, it's my privilege today to read out the citation. The first Rajeswari Memorial Award for Medical Research, awarded to Professor T. Jacob John. Professor Jacob John is an eminent virologist, globally recognized for his contribution to vaccine-preventable diseases. He was trained as a pediatrician and virologist in India, UK, and USA. He introduced the concept of pulse polio immunization in India and the world over. Under his leadership, field testing of oral and killed polio vaccines were conducted extensively in Vellore district. As a result of this effort, the efficacy of killed polio vaccine was conclusively established. He organized a health information system as a prototype model. He implemented measles vaccination through the Rotary International 3H program. He has also carried out pioneering work in HIV research. He has several hundred publications to his credit. He is also past president of the Indian Academy of Pediatrics and the Indian Association of Medical Microbiologists. For his human contribution to the field of medicine and virology, he was awarded the Dr. B.C. Roy National Award. Naruvi, very happy to present the citation to Dr. Jacob and the first memorial award for his medical research.
You know, it's like family, Sampath, Paul, Krishnan, Balaji, Saurabh, Manoj, Sridharan, Manikam, Padma, Billy, Manimaran, friends. Let me tell you a story about Henry Ford. Henry Ford, of course, the father figure of automobile industry, very ethical, and he made cars and he made trucks. And one day he was driving at a time when there was unexpected snow on the road, and his car got stuck in snow on the side of the road. This is a true story. I can't remember the date, but so other people went by in their automobiles, trucks went by, nobody stopped and helped him. One truck stopped and the truck driver got out, looked at the whole situation and said, I have a chain, and he attached the car and the truck and pulled the car out of the snow and back on the road. And so Henry Ford took his wallet and took some money and said, no sir, this is not necessary. Why not? He said, look, the satisfaction that I have for being able to help a person in need is greater reward than any money can give me. These were the kind of, I'm not giving you the exact, but this is the sentiment that he expressed. And he got into the truck, and those days, the truck owner, he would probably have one truck or two trucks, and he would be the driver. So he is the truck owner and the driver. Henry Ford forgot to ask his name or address or anything like that. So he jotted down the number of the truck. And he kind of remembered this number. A couple of years later, he happened to see the truck with the same number in his factory site. So he began thinking, he said, hey, what's happening? He asked the people as to, why is this truck here? They said, look, the owner of the truck didn't have enough money to repair this, get this truck repaired. So he left it here and he has gone back. So from that transaction, he got the name, address and everything of the truck driver, truck owner. He had fallen in bad times and he had lost money, and he had of course he didn't have enough money to repair his truck, and that was his livelihood. The next Christmas morning, early in the morning, when the truck driver opened his door to go to church, early in the morning, Christmas morning, there was a brand new truck in front of his house with a note stuck. There is no greater reward than being able to help somebody in need. So that's the kind of man Henry Ford was. And isn't this true for all of us in our lives? particularly in healthcare. This is the kind of a sentiment that we will cherish all the time. You know, so many people whom we have helped and their gratitude and their... Okay, so let me say something about Bobby Sridharan, next to Henry Ford. 1989-90, the principal sent me a note saying, please give your CV because we are going to nominate you for B.C. Roy Award as Eminent Medical Man of the Year. I told my wife, here's a letter, and of course, I don't believe that I should apply for this because I have not done anything great, and there will be so many other people having done so many things, so I'm not going to apply. She said, no, they asked for your CV, you give your CV. No, I don't have time to write my CV. I casually mentioned this to Sridharan. He volunteered to write my CV. And I told him, okay, you write my CV and please submit it to the principal. I didn't even read my CV because I didn't expect that I would receive this. This is the greatest award that the MCI can give as the Eminent Medical Man of the Year. That was a time when we had, many achievements, polio, measles. We had detected HIV in India through a special project. Eric Simoes was the person in charge. And this is before late Suniti Solomon, may her soul rest in peace, began making false claims that she was the one who thought about it and collected and all kinds of things. I never denied it in any fora. If she had some pleasure out of that, let her have the pleasure. Of course, she did a wonderful thing in establishing an HIV hospital. So, if this idea that she would get the name and the fame for having done something that which she did not do, let her get that as a kick for going forward. So, anyway, so all this probably wasn't the CV. I don't think I've ever read that CV at all. That's it. Anyway, so the CV went and I got the award. I just, if Sridharan had not volunteered to write that CV, I would not have got that award because I didn't take that seriously at all. In India, of 1.3 billion people, healthcare is not doing well. I was talking to Saurabh and one or two others a little while ago that modern medicine was the product of a different culture, European culture. Contributed to the growth of modern medicine was several other cultural elements like the Renaissance, what we call the scientific enlightenment, which is millennia after the enlightenment that we had in India, in a different realm. So the scientific enlightenment, then the French Revolution, fraternity, equality, those kind of concepts. The evolution of democracy, in which the role of the government, the state, is clearly defined as the state exists for the welfare of the people. And the unwritten, or maybe written, I do not know, rule that the state is responsible for citizens' health. Those kind of issues are very much part of modern medicine. we have transplanted the therapeutics and surgery of the modern medicine into our land, into our culture, but we have not imbibed those elements that makes modern medicine what modern medicine is, and public health is very much part of that modern medicine. So when I spent several years abroad and had seen how modern medicine is done in Western countries, where of course the other cultural parts of the European culture existed. When I came back, I realized that evidence-based medicine requires laboratory support. And not simply laboratory support, but state-of-the-art laboratory skills. And we already had in CMC, I'm not a graduate of CMC, I came from Kerala, Trivandrum Medical College. I came to Vellore for getting trained in pediatrics. I did my DCH, went to UK, got my MRCP, then went to US and learned infectious disease in pediatrics, and that came back. So the microbiology was being done well in CMC. There was a 24-hour running microbiology lab, and biochemistry, all were doing well, but there was no virology. When it came to diseases, once the word virus comes in, then it's a big black hole. Physicians and pediatricians had no clue as to how to handle virus diseases. And so I felt that there was need for a diagnostic virology. We already had a small research unit in virology, which of course was going down because PL 480 funds, PL 480, Public Law 480 was American wheat donated to India, with the price of the wheat kept in Indian rupees for the government to use in consultation with USAID. And when I joined back in CMC and began working in the research virology unit, the PL 480 funds had almost been finished. So the hoped for funding was not available. So I had to begin fundraising plus doing new things in virology, half the day in pediatrics and half the day in lab virology. And it was Dr. Jacob Chandy who asked me how I could earn some income for the department. And of course, we were excellent in breeding laboratory mice, Rockefeller strain. 20 kilometers away was the IVPM, Institute of Veterinary Preventive Medicine, who were a great consumer of laboratory mice, but they couldn't breed mice. So we would probably spend 10 paisa per mouse and sell it for 3 rupees per mouse. And that's how we made our first large income came from breeding and selling laboratory mice to IVPM. And then of course we became recognized, and ICMR began pouring money into our lab, and so we could do all diagnostic virology free of charge. 1972, we detected hepatitis B antigen in blood donors, and we immediately established blood donor screening. Of course, after doing the necessary studies to show that blood screening would make a difference, the physicians argued that there was no need for blood screening because there's a lot of hepatitis B. Therefore, the recipients also would be hepatitis B infected already. So there is why bother in screening? But we showed by a study that some 10% of people post-surgery were getting post-transfusion hepatitis. And when you removed the hepatitis B positive units, that 10% came down to 1.8%. So we could show the difference. And so we established that, and then of course 10 years later we established HIV screening. You heard the story about polio, measles. So I coined the term that what we were doing is research, diagnostics, and social virology. That's the public health part of a lab's contribution that actually gave us a lot of rewards. 1980 or 81, when I was considering a anti-polio drive in Vellore, Sampath was a student in Idus Cutter School, and you know, Mahatma Gandhi always did something dramatic to sort of convince himself that his cause is worth it, and so he had a lot of experiments he did. So I did an experiment. I asked students to walk 13 kilometers from the Katpadi railway station right up to CMC Scudder Hall with banners and all kinds of attractive things. Walk for those who cannot walk, polio. This was to convince me that a pulse polio approach in the town would be received well by the families, and anyway, I believe Sampath was part of that walkathon. Was he? Okay. So Sampath's family is well known to us, and we were family friends. So this journey that I had in my profession, by my training in Trivandrum, Kerala, coming to CMC and see how medicine was practiced at a much higher level than in Trivandrum, where you could argue with your professor. If you disagree with the professor, we had the freedom to discuss. You fight when you do not know how to argue. Okay, that's the when I say argue, this is discussing, dialoguing, and then to UK, USA, and back, the opening into society through the Rotary movement. So everything was in place. All it required was one person to conduct the orchestra. So don't think that I have anything special in my brain. My brain is actually IQ wise probably less than average. Not a brilliant. No, I'm telling you. But you, like a laser, you focus your attention onto one issue at a time. Okay, all your energy, your thoughts, early in the morning you wake up and you're thinking about that. When you go to bed, you're thinking about, finally it clicks and says, this is what I must do. That is the secret of identifying problems and fitting solutions to problems. And almost every one solution that I designed has become the appropriate choice for intervention. We kept Vellore polio free in 1982. We kept North Arcot district of 5 million people polio free in 1986, 87, and it is for the sake of proving the polio free status that we had to establish a disease surveillance system. That Nadi model, North Arcot district health information system. When much is given to you, much will be expected of you back. Finally, let me thank Sampath and Paul and everybody who has, I don't know what made you think of me as a recipient of this award. I'm greatly honored, privileged, and I appreciate it. My only regret is that all these good words that Padma said, my wife was not here to listen to those. Thank you very, very much. Much obliged to all of you. Thank you.